Bluey can teach us many good things, but did you notice the times when Chilli and Bandit were terrible parents? Yes, sounds impossible, right? We present to you the times when Chilli and Bandit forgot how to be good parents. Let's start strong, friends, with one of the episodes that made more than one person uncomfortable due to its message and how they treat poor Bluey. And I'm talking about the episode Mini Bluey. Right from the beginning, they keep comparing Bluey to Bingo. They want her to be as organized as Bingo, to behave like Bingo, and even to think like Bingo. What kind of parent doesn't accept their child just as they are? And all of this is quite ironic, since this episode is supposed to teach that parents shouldn't have a favorite children. But come on, Bandit doesn't care at all, and even shamelessly say that he'd rather have 2 Bingos. What? The worst part of this scene isn't just that her own father says he prefers her sister, but that poor Bluey is right there and hears everything Bandit says. This is a pretty devastating scene for a young child, and unfortunately for Bluey, Chilli also pointed out that Bingo is the better daughter. It seems that in this scene, Bandit and Chilli show their true colors. They do have a favorite. And also, quick homework for you guys. In the episode Promises, every time when we see Bandit and Chilli talking, they always talk and laugh about Bingo, but never about Bluey. Is it really that they have a favorite one? Alright, let's return to Mini Bluey. Can you imagine how poor Bluey must have felt with all these words? We might think they said it out of frustration with Bluey's behavior, but it was so real that they didn't even apologize to their daughter for the hurtful things they said. They literally just left her there crying, and Bingo had to do all the emotional support. What happened to the understanding Chilli who makes Bandit reflect? At least they could have brought her some ice cream to make her forget that horrible scene. Alright. It seems like Bluey and Bingo's parents sometimes lose their minds and forget that they need to be understanding. And I'm sure most of us agree that the most mature one in this family is Chilli. She always corrects Bandit whenever he messes up. But the problem is that sometimes Bandit isn't there to correct Chilli when she loses it. And this was made very clear in the episode Omelet. It's not just Chilli's attitude that's annoying and disappointing, but many things come together to make this one of the worst examples of Chilli's parenting. In this episode, Chilli and the kids want to treat Bandit to a delicious omelet for his birthday, but Bingo wants to help Chilli make it. To be honest, Chilli hesitates at first about letting Bingo help. Maybe because of past experiences, or maybe because Chilli knows the turnout of Bingo helping, or I don't know. And well, Bingo's help turns into a disaster. She breaks all the eggs, sends things flying, and leaves a huge mess. It's understandable that Chilli was frustrated, but there was no need to be so rude to little Bingo, as she basically told her she wasn't good at it and she should go and play instead. You can definitely see how Bingo gets disappointed and sad about this. The first time I saw this, I was heartbroken. We can kind of understand that Chilli was about to pop right here, because after she told Bingo to basically fly off, she yelled at Bandit on the phone. So maybe she wasn't thinking straight. But the worst part is that she didn't even try to help Bingo in a way that would have made everything turn out okay. She could have at least gone for the eggs herself and left Bingo with the easier tasks. Come on! Tell me, what responsible parent lets their 3-year-old girl go to the fridge to get the eggs? She could have fallen off the step. And to make things worse, Chilli sends Bingo to get the bowl to whisk the eggs. Any sane parent would have predicted that their 3-year-old would make a mess while fetching the bowl. Honestly, Chilli's attitude is pretty infuriating. It's fine that she tried to include Bingo and all, but I'm sure there was a better way to do it. Plus, it doesn't seem fair that they made poor Bandit starve the entire day just because Bingo couldn't get the omelet right. And even worse, it was his birthday. Here, Chilli simply lost it. So let's move on to the next episode. This episode is one of the most frustrating because of how Bandit, Bluey, and everyone else behave. This episode, as the name suggests, is about promises. They basically teach the kids that if you say you promise something, you have to keep it. But thanks to this episode, we get a glimpse of what kind of person Bandit can really be. Throughout the episode, both Bandit and Bluey keep making promises they can't fulfill. And well, since Bandit also doesn't keep his promises, Bluey takes advantage of that to call him out and give an excuse to her not keeping her promise to Chilli. Honestly, Bandit is really out of line. Can you imagine the example he's setting for his daughters? He's just saying yes to get people to stop talking. If you ask me, that's pretty rude. You go around making promises and you basically become a liar. With that kind of attitude, no one will trust what you say. And that's exactly what happened in this episode. The value of promises was lost. But hey, Bandit, it's really uncool of you to treat your daughters like that. That's not something you do. I can already imagine Bluey in the future promising her parents that she'll visit, and then she ends up forgetting about them. Do you see what your lies can lead to, Bandit? And something really interesting is that they imply that Bluey is actually like her dad. Maybe that's why Bandit doesn't like Bluey as much as Bingo? Now, let's talk about one of the most negligent episodes in Bluey. And here is not just Bandit and Chilli who are irresponsible, but also Trixie and Stripe. Well, we already expected something like this from Trixie and Stripe, but from Chilli? I'm talking about the episode Pizza Girls. Yes, the one where Muffin shows off her truck. In this episode, a lot of things happened that could have ended in tragedy. For starters, the girls' parents start chatting about Stripe's new car, and at that moment, they completely forget they have kids and focus on admiring the car. Meanwhile, Muffin, along with Bluey and Bingo, are up to no good. And since they're wild as usual, they don't even think about the consequences. First, we see how Muffin arrives, humiliating Bluey and Bingo over her new car, while Bluey and Bingo only have their old, beaten-up little car. We know perfectly well that it seems like Stripe and Trixie don't teach Muffin good manners, and she even runs over poor Bluey's little car, sending one of its wheels flying. But I don't understand how at no point did any of the parents think that Muffin could go wild and run out into the street. With how crazy they were playing, a car could have hit him, or one of them could have gotten hurt with their reckless games. All the parents definitely deserve a red card for not paying attention to their kids. Plus, Stripe is teaching Muffin to be very conceited. And we end with one of the episodes that we all probably hate. And of course, it's Obstacle Course. There's no need to mention much about why this episode sets a bad example for parenting. Bandit behaves worse than a preschooler. He is playing an obstacle course with Bluey and Bingo, but Mr. Bandit has a huge problem accepting defeat. His frustration is so great that he even cheats multiple times to always be the winner. I'd understand it if he did it with someone his own size. But come on, with a little girl? And the worst part is that it's his own daughter. We need to point out many things about Bandit's attitude. He doesn't even resemble his usual personality. We've never seen Bandit with such an immature and childish attitude. He definitely makes a fool of himself in some games, but this time he really crossed the line. He only did it so he wouldn't look like a loser. In my opinion, he would have come across as a great father just by teaching Bluey a lesson and making it clear that it was all just for fun. But Bandit really felt like he had to be the one who always won. Some people might think he did it to push his daughters to always try harder and be better. But I'm not fooled, friends. Bandit simply did it because he doesn't know how to lose. I'm not lying when I say that the episode and the lesson it was giving were pretty good. But everything went off the rails because of Bandit's poor decision. I don't even recognize him in this episode. He even mocks them and does the chicken move? Because of this bad attitude and being cruel to his own daughters, this is the episode where Bandit became the worst dad in the world of Bluey. And that's how we conclude all the times Chilli and Bandit were terrible parents. Leave a comment if you remember any other episodes where they were bad parents. We'll be reading you in the comments.